stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Guffey, would you lead us in prayer?
Dear Lord Jesus, we thank you for this day, dear God. We ask you to give this council guidance here tonight, Lord Jesus, and we thank you, dear God, for everything that you're doing for our community. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Before, if everybody stay standing, before we go on, the mayor has a presentation to make to Mr. Kunder.
Jeff, would you like to come up? And I'd like to say a little something before you give your 45-minute speech. On behalf of the city, Jeff Kunder, Westminster Community Center, 2001 through 2023. We appreciate all the years of service that you've given to our community. Nobody knows the hours of labor, the working your fingers to the bones with personal families, with meals for families. What you've done for our community has been truly outstanding, and I just want everybody to give you a round of applause for what you've done.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
Really appreciate it.
Gonna miss you.
Thanks, Jeff. Good seeing you.
Thanks, Jeff.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mike Guffey.
Present.
Jeff Hancock.
Present.
Jerry Walden. Aaron Dickens.
Here.
Mark Cover.
Here.
Lynn Purdue.
Here.
Rex Beckman.
Here. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of the previous meeting?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the previous meeting.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the minutes. Roll call vote, please.
Mike Guffey.
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Abstain.
Mark Cover.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Beckman.
Aye. Okay, now we'll move on to, are there any additions to the agenda or corrections? Hearing none, we'll move on from that. Do we have anybody from the public that would like to come forward and speak? Okay, please.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Shannon Bauman.
No, it's on, it just doesn't come through the
Okay.
speakers.
I am relatively new to the community. My husband and I moved here about 2 years ago. We purchased the, as you know it to be, the old Ingersoll Mansion. I recently returned from a trip to Tanzania. And as I was there, it occurred to me that I had an idea that I wanted to suggest and lay on the table to the board here. But first, let me thank all of you for serving, especially you, Greg. Greg and I had a chance to meet, and I appreciated your time. It's my understanding that there is not enough foster care here in the community. My suggestion to Mayor York was that perhaps the city could purchase an available church that's for sale in Indiana. Now, whether or not this is a possibility, I have no idea. But if it is, I would be more than willing to volunteer to see a project like that through. I was very active with City Council where I came from. I know that our social workers have a great deal of difficulty finding placement for children who are being yanked out of homes, have no place to put them. These children are the ultimate victims. And so this is the very beginning and baby steps of a project that I'd like to see Newcastle take under its wing. And perhaps this is something that we could invest in and be an example to other communities. And and discuss, like I had with the mayor, maybe getting something like this started. And I'll leave it at the table. One other concern that as I run around talking to people in my community is, as we love the police officers, but there has been some concern that there are a lot of taillights and headlights that are out. So situational awareness, just letting you guys know.
I've got a turn signal out right now.
Right, right. So just wanting you guys to know that a lot of people are telling me that. If you guys can check your cars before you get out, they're for your safety and ours too. But beyond that, if we could do something for our young people so they don't have to be the victim of their parents. And like the mayor and I were discussing, because we are not a big city, our young people who are thrown into these disasters are going to be our disaster adults of tomorrow. So I just want you to know that my name is Shannon Bauman. I'm here, and I want to help, and whatever we can do to grab a building, help some kids, that I'm here to help. So I'm on the scene.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody else from the public that would like to speak?
I'm batting like a bad penny. I'm Carrie Barrett with Newcastle Main Street. And 2 weeks ago, I came before you guys and asked about a housing feasibility study, a second-story feasibility study for buildings downtown that have vacant second and third stories. So we talked, when I asked, I mean, we're just kind of spitballing about this, and you guys indicated that you felt like you would be willing to make a match. So Newcastle Main Street, I'm speaking on behalf of the board, who doesn't know that I'm doing this. We'd be willing, no they do, I'm kidding. We'd be willing to match that 20%, so $3,400, if that is what you guys, if that is interesting to you guys. If you'll recall, this is for 10 upstairs it's for 10 buildings that have vacant second and third floors, and this would be LWC would go in and do a feasibility study for housing. And I did give you a new handout. I know you love handouts. There's a cost of an empty building. Now this is mostly what it costs to have an empty building, a vacant building with a business in it. And you can see it costs the community $222,000 a year to have a vacant building. I don't know exactly what that translates to for apartment living, for housing, but I thought that was interesting. You can see that just in sales tax, it's $5,000 in sales tax. It's $100 in property tax. So, I don't know, I thought that was interesting.
So you're looking for an 80% match, right?
Looking for an 80% match.
I think these figures are interesting because I think we see the problem as an empty building and not, you know, everything. And when somebody rents it or buys it, it's just a tenant, but that tenant's working somewhere, paying taxes, eating, shopping. And if we have a housing crisis, I mean, this is one way to approach that.
Well, my feeling is, I have no doubt that this feasibility study will come back as a positive, okay? But, and I've been a business owner for 40+ years, and I've invested lots of different dollars in lots of different businesses and ventures, and I always did my own feasibility study. Before I put my name signed anywhere for loan documents to do something, I had a good feel it was going to fly. My question is, the people that have these empty buildings and have rental possibilities upstairs, are they willing to invest, that kind of money that's gonna take for that income?
You mean once?
Yeah,
So you get
it's
the
gonna come back.
feasibility study back, and yes, it says yes. It says this-
Yes, it will come back positive, I'm sure.
I don't know, Lynn. That's a gamble.
Well, see, that's
the
that's
gamble
where
or the risk.
I'm struggling a little bit. If they're not willing to say, hey, I'm in, if it comes back and shows me I can make money, then I can't see putting money into it. If they're not willing up front, to take the plunge.
Well, they're the ones gonna be reaping the reward.
Right. And depending on their building, that cost could vary. I think, Mr. Harvey, maybe I asked you this before, there is a way to separate out levels of the buildings, right? Like I think the old MetroNet office, the first floor
Yeah,
has
there's a
one
way
set.
you can do it, correct.
So if somebody wasn't willing but wanted to sell off that top part to
You
be
can do it.
developed,
Yep.
they could do that.
But they'd have to be willing to sell it.
No, right, exactly.
Having a feasibility study on it might make it more sellable.
Also true.
Do you have a deadline that you need to get this feasibility study done?
No. What are we waiting for? But no, I don't.
So the 10 buildings that you got listed here, correct?
Yes.
Everyone and each owner has been contacted about feasibility. Okay.
I contacted all the owners that have a vacant
Just-
upper floor.
And not to be throwing any poison darts or anything, but some of, there's, I don't know. It's kind of scary about the feasibility. The building has been setting for months, years. Nothing's ever been done with it. And, I kind of feel the same way with Lynn, and I feel like maybe a feasibility might entice them. But it's just kind of a,
Well, we all know firsthand how bad the Murphy building is, so,
Yeah.
we've been putting up with that for
right, I understand.
5+, 6+ years,
Right.
7+ years, but, or more.
Kind of sounds like to me they want to digest it a little.
Yeah, I need to ponder this a little bit.
I don't, yeah, because I don't hear
I don't either.
I don't hear a lot of outcry.
Which is something
for it
I'm not used to. I don't know what to do with myself. I don't know what to do with my hands, because I'm not. But I would say I realize it's a risk, but we have a housing shortage. We have vacant upper levels. We have a downtown that is going gangbusters. And so it just feels like to me it's the right place to put things. But if you want me to come back.
Are there I would imagine there are opportunities. I mean, anytime we do an outdoor project, we have to have certain things before we can break ground. And is this like that? Are there other grant opportunities? Being in a historic district, even for residential, I think there are grant opportunities, but I don't know if a feasibility like unlocks some sort of door.
There's, the only interior grant opportunity that I am aware of is the BRAP. There are not interior, unless, Mike, you might know, there are not interior grant opportunities.
They're all like exterior roof.
Mhm. Okay.
So, I mean, we're talking 13,000-ish. I would be interested, just in order to make an informed decision, what anyone else thinks that we need to see or know.
There you go.
I think, like Lynn said, you need investment from these other 9 people on this list. We're number 1 on the list, but the other 9,
Yeah, we should have skin in the game because one of
Yeah.
our buildings is there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
But as I look down this list, I don't know Mr. McGlory, so I don't know what his, I don't know anything about him. But the other people all have some means of support. So it seems like that they could have some skin in the game as well. You know, I mean, definitely see the good points of this. I mean, if we could even get something going on in the upstairs of half of those buildings, that would be huge. I mean, if we're gonna have a vibrant downtown, we do need people living there that can spend their money there. I mean, but I do think it would be good to see if we can get something going with some of these building owners. And is there any money left from the other round, from the past round of BRAP that's rolled over that could be folded into this?
Well, we won't know. All of that is due December of this year from the previous. So, but right now, we have, most of them are almost closed. There's only one project that hasn't started yet that I don't know if will start or not.
Okay.
And that's the old Bremer Furniture Building. I just don't know if they have other interests elsewhere. So, that's about $19,000.
Well, as far, what I'm thinking is, I'd like to see a representative or two of the business owners downtown to come and present their thoughts. Again, if they're not willing to, spend the money for housing, then the feasibility study's all for naught.
Okay.
So how about a couple of them come and say, hey, we're on board, we think this will fly, kind of thing. I need to get a feel from them before I could support it.
I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
All right.
So, so the feasibility, is it just on the buildings, or is it a matter of who can afford it once?
Both.
Both?
So it would tell you, say for instance, Office Source.
Okay.
Or say the Murphy Building.
Okay.
He'd go up there and say, you can have 3 apartments up here, which I think you probably could. It would, you could get this much rent, you need to do this much egress, that's the word I just learned. And you need to have a sprinkler system, all those kinds of things. It would tell you exactly what you want.
But he's not going to do a demographic of saying, here's the people that can afford $175,000.
He's gonna tell you what you could charge for rent, but he's not gonna tell you what,
What it's gonna cost, where the money's coming
Yeah.
from. Yeah.
Yeah, back there on about page
There's-
5
yeah,
or
there's
so.
two
there's-
We ran into this once
There's a
with,
list of
what was it,
things.
5-star? What was that? Is that right?
Yep.
Pretty much along the same line. Yeah, we got taken to the cleaners on that.
Over what project was that?
All those homes they built.
is that a roofing company?
No,
No.
it was, they built the homes around town and built it and they'll come, and there's like 2 homes still standing.
Star Development.
Star Development, sorry, close.
Is that what we used?
Yep.
Like housing? Yeah, okay.
Lee's telling me I've taken up my time.
Okay, well, we'll keep this in the hopper.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for giving her the signal.
He's our official timer.
You can be Sergeant of Arms.
I mean, something to keep in mind.
Do we have
too.
anybody? Yes, Mr.
Something-
Broyles.
He might be mad at you.
Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I asked Kara if she'd be mad at me if I spoke. But as a downtown building owner, we had 2 apartments. We're down to 1 now because we sold the one to Vash. But I told Carrie last week that I was kind of against this because the BRAP is to help those downtown building owners. And they're getting 40% of their money, up to $50,000, to invest in those upstairs apartments. And I think that's a big investment by BRAP, the RDC, and everything. And if they're not willing to do it at that point, the feasibility studies, I don't think is going to do it for them. But we sold our building to Bash, and he talked about the need for buildings downtown. If you just listen to him, that would tell you the feasibility study. He said they looked all over. Their best option was Jamestown Apartments, but they wanted to be downtown. And fortunately, timing was right, and they rented off with us for 2 years. And now he's investing in other buildings downtown. So he knows the needs there without the feasibility study. So I'd rather see the money go into the BRAP some way or another, if that was possible. and help the building owners that way instead of the feasibility study. That's just my feeling.
Thank you, Mike.
What you're gonna say.
Okay, anybody else from the community? Okay, seeing none. we'll go on. Oh, one more. Sorry, sir.
Seeing none.
Sorry. Well, you were over there and you kind of got lost.
But I'm Chuck Bauman. My wife, as she said, we moved here 2.5 years ago. But I'd like for the your city traffic engineer to consider adjusting the speed limit on Cherry Street. Right now, it's 30 miles an hour posted. But a lot of folks that use that road, you would think you were on a freeway on-ramp. So I would like to suggest that they lower that speed limit to 25. Some of those houses between Hawthorne and where it dead ends are right on the street. I mean, they're close, and there's children in some of those houses. And I see there's some other areas in the city where there's residents where are close to the curbs. You have some areas that are 20 miles an hour. But I think 20 might be a little overkill, but 25 I think would be reasonable too. Because people, as we all know, they tend to go a little over the speed limit as it is. And some of them a lot more, but 25 would be, I think, a reasonable adjustment.
We'll turn that over to the traffic committee that we're studying.
All righty, thank you.
2 weeks.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, now we'll move on to committee reports. Mr. Guffey.
Well, all I got is the signs did come in from Grady, and I appreciate Grady working with us, and Lee's gonna get those up on the truck routes. They're real nice, and with them to the addition of what Lee has done as far as the arrows, as was mentioned in the last meeting, I think it'd be great. That's all I have.
Just one thing, Your Honor. Little League ribbon cutting ceremony Saturday. There was approximately 460 kids plus parents, grandparents, and other people there. What a beautiful facility and a great turnout. Roughly, I would say, Mayor, 1,500, maybe 2,000 there?
At least, yeah.
Yeah, so it was a great turnout, great facility, and they did a great job on those two field stuff. They look really nice. You get the opportunity to go look at them, please do. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Dickon.
I have nothing.
Mr. Coger.
Don't know if anybody's going to mention it or not, but the crossing grant we got, the community crossings, which is huge, and thank the administration for putting that $1 million back. And, hopefully, if Dave would, I know he's got a map, and I think he gave us one about a year ago. If he could give us maybe an updated map in a couple weeks.
He's got a list.
Yeah, I knew he had one, but with a highlighter, blue this year, green next year, whatever, he does it. Thanks, all I got.
I'll tell him.
Okay, Mr. Purdue.
On the truck route, the arrows we were talking about over on 25th Street for the truck route, I spoke to a property owner today that has property at the intersection of Grand and 25th. He loves the arrows, those signs, but he'd like to see another one closer to Grand Avenue on 25th, pointing to I Avenue.
We're not done yet because they did not mark that for us. Along I Avenue there.
Yeah.
What we put up so far was actually into the concrete.
Okay.
And they had not marked it past 25th Street yet. So it is now marked with the locate, I should say, not marked, but
Okay.
located. So we can, as soon as the weather breaks again, we can do that. Yes.
Okay. Well, he said there's a couple semi drivers pretty regularly turn left. Going south on 25th, they turn left on Grand Avenue instead of going straight to I Avenue with the designated truck route.
Right, and part of that is again because they were not located on
Okay,
that side.
perfect. I'll give it a call. Thank you. That's all.
I don't have anything this evening, Your Honor. I'll turn it over to you.
Chief, you have anything this evening?
Just a reminder, our open house is May 6th, 11 to 1 p.m.
Okay.
Encourage everybody to get out and check out the new police department.
Okay.
The council may already know, but the fire department and the township did come to an agreement on a contract, and we signed a one-year contract. And thank you, Lee, for your help with all that.
Good.
Any mess? Anything else? We have a lot of inquiries about building barn dominiums in town. Brought it up to Board of Works. They suggested, thought we should bring it to council because we have nothing in the ordinance. I think we would get some kickback if we start issuing permits in certain places.
If it's not a major discussion tonight, it needs to be a major discussion at the next meeting. I mean, barn dominiums are very nice homes in a pole barn. And what neighborhoods would they fit in, and what neighborhoods would they not fit in? So, you know, just to say, yeah, we'll do that, but, well,
No.
you're gonna have some kickbacks
Yeah.
on certain neighborhoods. So, with Kenny announcing it tonight, you can have that discussion tonight, but it needs to be brought to some deep thought and some real discussion, because there are some neighborhoods that it would not fit in. So it is gonna come up time and time again, and we need to be prepared for that.
Well, I think start would be a dollar amount. I mean, I think that would be a starting point. I mean, you know, a minimum dollar amount would eliminate a lot of neighborhoods, so.
Yeah,
I mean,
of course, you always have the metal siding.
Right.
It might be something, you at least want to, if somebody inquire about, trying, if we have to do anything, run it through the Board of Zoning Appeals
Yeah.
or Planning Commission. I don't, it's just something new.
If,
A lot of
maybe we
inquiries.
could find a city our size that allows it in the state. I mean, that might be an option.
What's that?
Find a city about our size that maybe allows it now, and how they, you know, allow them or let them be built.
Work on that.
I would suggest that you look it up and give it some thought, and maybe even put it on the agenda of the next meeting.
Let's do that.
Because you're talking about aluminum siding, aluminum roof. Now, there's some nice homes that have brick homes with aluminum roofs on them right now, or metal roofs on them.
Galvanized.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that we want to build a 20-foot tall pole barn in any neighborhood. And so I think we need to give it some.
I think we had an ordinance with buildings like that anyway, when they had the detached garages, putting apartments in them and all that with the height and all that several years ago.
This is a little. You can still follow your height
Yeah.
and square footage, but
Right.
you're still gonna have a pole barn.
Right.
This is a little different because a detached garage is an accessory structure.
Right.
This is, I mean, the barn dominium, I guess, or what the term you use, is a relatively new.
Right. Popping
First
out in
time I ever
country.
heard that
Yeah,
term.
and it's, you know, people are putting it on a lot to be the principal structure.
Right.
And then, I mean, I guess it would be sort of analogous to if I designed my house and put a massive, you know, attached garage underneath it and lived on the top floor.
Yeah.
Sometimes people, I know of at least two people not in the city that have basically that type of a structure. And they're people that go to Florida in the winter in an RV, and in the summer they come home, they park their RV in there and live out of their RV inside the pole barn. So, you know, you could have, unless we have some type of code or some type of structure, some type of a rule on that, you could have somebody building a big pole barn right in the middle of the neighborhood and just pulling an RV in and out.
So,
That being it.
I mean, how can you structure, are you able to say, hey, this area of the city, you can, it's okay,
City
or it's not?
limits.
Or do you
Yeah,
zone it
city
a
limits.
specific way?
I
Or
think you have to do it for the whole city.
Yeah,
whole city
you would
limits.
have to. I
Right,
mean, there are a
it'd be
couple-
all or nothing, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple ways you could do it. I mean, you could create a standalone zoning category where this was a permitted use. In other words, you could say, you know, this is, you have like the you know, R1 district, you could say this is the new R6 district.
Yeah.
And this type of building's only allowed in the R6 district, and if someone wanted to do that, they'd have to go through and get their property rezoned, go through that process. You could set it up as a special exception in an R1 or R2 district where they have to go through and go to the planning commission to get approval. So there's a lot of.
I mean, really, if we wanted to consider it, that would be the way to do it, and then it would be each time you're checking to see if the place they want to rezone is appropriate or not. and then the zoning board's the one that's approving it.
Well, and their
And then
structure
they would
is
send it to
appropriate.
And then
because-
it would come to us.
Because
Yeah.
somebody could go out and, I mean, you can go out and build a pole barn. I mean, I could probably build a pole barn. I can't.
Your
build
own
anything.
backyard.
Yeah.
I think it'd have to be an individual basis brought in
Right,
front of
it'd almost
Yeah,
have
that's
to
what we
be.
do with the Board of Zoning Appeals.
I think it would have to
You
be.
can put lipstick on a pig, but what neighborhood you wanna take your pig through, that's simple as
I
that.
mean, it's no different than tearing down a business and.
Still a
building
big.
Business in that
Yeah.
spot, right?
You do it a lot in the county, but it kind of goes.
Well, I was gonna say, it's a barn dominium. I mean, key word here is barn. Barns are meant to be rural, so, and
Mr.
then,
Douglas would like to speak when you get through.
and then,
I would appreciate it if you guys would take it under consideration. I know somebody on 11th Street that went through the zoning commission. I know the person. She has a pole barn beside her house now, and it really stands out in the neighborhood. People make comments about it, and it went through the right channels and was approved by them. And it just, you guys have seen it down the street on 11th, so I
Yeah.
would encourage you
It's
to
a pole
consider
barn.
it.
it's a pole barn.
At one
It's
time, there was an
it's a white
ordinance.
elephant.
It went
years
past
ago,
the zoning board and got
that
approved,
was-
so.
So we need to have
It's
serious.
Yeah, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll talk about this more. Joel will look up some things for us maybe, give us some insight.
Anything else, Kenny? Mike? Counselor?
I don't have anything else.
Brenda? Kendra? Doug? Craig? Lee? The one thing I want to announce is April the 28th at 1400 Plaza, we're going to have a history night. We'll have food trucks, have Bulldog Band playing 60s and 70s music, Daryl Radford, Doug Majors, Mike Davis, Ricky Kopman. Anybody that's written a book about Newcastle history will be there showing or selling their books or have pictures. But it's just going to, this is our 200th year. I don't know if you want to say something about the 200th year celebration, Carrie, later, but this kind of be the kickoff for that, for this summer, that last year was the county's 200th year. This year is the city's 200th year.
What date was that again, Mayor?
It's Friday, April 28th, from 6 to 9. There'll be food trucks. It will be a lot like a Fourth Friday, but this is a history night, and it's going to be a good time. Just a lot of reminisce, a lot of old pictures about downtown Newcastle. So encourage everybody to come out for that. Then also the first week in May 3rd through the 7th, we'll have a fair on P Avenue in between the pool and the fire station, like Poor Jack Fair, amusement rides and food, cotton candy, lemon shake-ups, elephant ears. So that will be another big celebration that we'll have, and the pool will not be open, so it will not compete with the swimming pool at that time. But that will be May 3rd through May 7th. That's all I have.
Thank you, Your Honor. Now we'll move on to resolutions. We have one, it's resolution number 04172023-1, a resolution authorizing the allocation of coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds for the provision of specified government services and further amending the city's written plan for expenditure. Now therefore be it resolved by the Common Council of the City of Newcastle, Indiana as follows. One, the Common Council hereby allocates a sum of up to $100,000 for the installation of lighting and other related improvements on Trojan Lane. And I would move we pass this resolution tonight.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion, questions, anything?
So this is just for lights?
The project.
It's for the
entire
total
project.
project?
Mhm.
Okay, and we, at the beginning of the project, gave 50 grand, is that right?
Yes, through Riverboat.
Through Riverboat.
Mhm.
And then,
That was our match to Riverboat.
right.
Yeah.
Fundraising other than that?
Yes.
Okay.
We've, privately, we've raised about 32,000 to date, but the fundraising's still going on.
Okay. I'll allow you to ask it.
Thank you. The food and beverage gave $118,000 to this project.
Correct.
Also, have we spent that money?
Not yet, no.
How much have we spent on this?
Out of food and beverage,
Uh-huh.
about 7,500 in that neighborhood.
So we've got over $100,000
Correct.
still in food and beverage.
Correct.
What's the projection as far as the work on the medians? What's the projection on how much that cost us, or is gonna cost us in the end?
I met with them today. The plants have been ordered. I was told 75,000, I was quoted, but that was about a year ago. So I'm trying to hold them to that, and they're being very conscious of that.
So that's
But-
for plants.
But that's for plants and planting, mulching and so
Pay
on.
for somebody to-
But honestly, when you get quotes this day and age, the quotes are only good for about 30 days. So they're working with us, but it could squeak up a little bit. I've got a hard number on the lights, and the request for the addition 25 is for installation. We hope we can have city employees do the installation, but if time doesn't allow that, one, we have to spend some subcontract money for that.
Lynn, what style lights are they? Similar to what's there?
They're in this, no.
No, these are.
No, yeah, okay.
Maybe you can post on Facebook a picture
Well,
of the light, or there.
Here, you can pass that
Look
around.
like the lights that are downtown.
They're very nice looking lights.
They're in the same family as the lights we have on Broad and down Main Street by the park. And we wanted to keep them in the same family because at some point, if we make the turn at Baker and go west toward Trojan, it would all blend, they would all, blend together.
It's like old-fashioned gas lights.
All I'll say is that I hope that we maybe send some money back to us again.
Yeah, sure,
Use
no doubt.
all the other money, and if you need that money out there.
I'm a good steward of municipal money.
I'm
so-
not
And
saying
then,
you're
would you explain about the lights, everything that's going down?
Yeah, I call that
Nothing go-
starlight friendly. So
Yeah.
we wanted to make sure that, nothing projects up, so everything comes down, so.
Okay, any other discussion?
So, $50,000 that we did out of Riverboat,
Mm-hmm.
32,000 you've raised privately.
Mhm.
You still you had 118,000 given from the food beverage, and you've only spent $7,400 of that?
No, what's the total expense so far?
No, out of food and beverage,
About
Is that-
about 7,500.
about 7,500?
Mhm.
So what are you expecting to spend the rest of that food and beverage on?
The lights are 143,000 minimum.
And they went up $25,000 from last
Yeah.
year to this year.
So I'm hoping to get those and just, that will go toward lights, and then we'll make up the difference to cover the lights. And then the balance of that would go toward the installation and the rest of the planning.
The lights and light poles that are up there right now have been up there since 1961. And
So is the city okay with doing the lights, or can they do the lights?
Sure, yeah. I'm not trying to be Carmel or not trying to be Fishers, but we have a lot of people that come to Newcastle that go to the Hall of Fame.
Oh, I
Or
understand.
go to a sporting
I'm
event.
not knocking that whatsoever.
That should be the most beautiful road we have in all of
Should be.
Newcastle.
I'm not
As
saying that.
as far as what the city can do, we have, on staff a crane operator. We can set the poles. We'll probably have to contract out the termination of the wiring, but we can do a bulk of the work by setting it, mounting it.
Any more discussion or questions? Hearing none, let's take a vote.
Mike Duffy,
Aye.
Jeff Hancock.
Aye.
Aaron Dickens.
Aye.
Mark Koger.
Aye.
Lynn Purdue.
Aye.
Rex Steckenbach.
Aye. Resolution passes. We have no ordinances, so that concludes our business, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. I know you're fiscally responsible. More or less said it because of what. Hey, listen, if I had a gavel, I almost had to say you're out of order.